you're such a genuine gem. Thank you for clicking on my video. I'm Brooke Makenna, but today's case is about a penthouse couples trip that ended in murder. Now, from a luxury vacation to the worst night of their lives. When a motive isn't clear, it leaves many with questions as to why this had to happen. Then survivors were made with no clue as to how close they had just come to death. A whirlwind of a case in one beach town where many go to get away from their mundane lives. Before this couple, chaos came at a cost. If you don't know, it's my absolute passion to tell these stories. I mean no harm or disrespect when I do so. So if that's something you'd like to support me in doing, all you have to do is make sure you're subscribed with the post notification bell on, giving this video a thumbs up, and leaving a nice comment down below. I also want to thank our sponsor, Best Fiends. You guys know I absolutely love the game. I play it all the time. But if you haven't tried it yet, you absolutely need to. Whether you're in a rough patch and just need some sort of distraction, or whether you're stressed out and need something to basically calm you down, Best Fiends has got you covered. Their puzzle adventure game has so many levels that you just keep going, and it makes it so much fun and just an area to get away from reality. Did I mention it's free to download as well? Myself and my mom all play it, and we love to see, who's at a higher level. It's just really fun. So if you would love to see if you can beat me in my level, or just want to play it for yourself, you can download it for free. Remember, that is Best Fiends, which is friends without the R. You can download it with my link below, and you can also get $5 worth of gold for free if you can beat level 5. So make sure to download that down below, and let's get back to the story. So it was 2002 in Maryland, and Joshua Ford and Martha Crutchley were going on vacation to Ocean City, Maryland, from their home in Fairfax, Virginia. They drove the entire 170 miles, which took about 3 hours. Now, Joshua was 32 years old, and his girlfriend Martha, who actually went by Jeannie, was 51 years old. Now, Jeannie was an insurance executive, and Joshua was a mortgage broker. Now, Joshua was recently divorced. He also had an 8-year-old son, but he had recently found love with Jeannie, and they absolutely loved each other. They were crazy about each other, and they moved in together and began a garden at their home. Now, Joshua also was a volunteer youth counselor at his local church. They basically adored their lives together, but we can all get very bored with the life that we are living day to day, and so of course they wanted to get out and have some fun, let loose a little bit. So they decided to go on vacation, and they were going to head to Ocean City, Maryland. They were there that May during Memorial Day weekend, which was between May 25th through May 27th. They would both be returning to work that next Monday. Now, the couple planned to hit the local nightclubs and bars and drink and dance the weekend away without a care in the world. But when Monday finally came around, coworkers were confused as to why they weren't getting the, scoop on what had happened that weekend, where all they had gotten to go. They were looking forward to talking to their friends, Joshua and Jeannie. They were not there. They were showing up late, and then they ended up not showing up at all. They didn't call to tell them, we're going to stay a little bit longer, come up with an excuse. They didn't say that there was some sort of emergency. Neither had spoken or informed their family members of what was going on, which was common for both to do. Together, these coworkers called the local police department, which was the Fairfax Police. The Fairfax Police confirmed that Jeannie nor Joshua were at their home. They weren't at friend's house. They hadn't been spotted back in Fairfax at all, and nobody had received any calls or texts. That's when they decided to call Ocean City Police, where they had been on vacation, to see if they would have any more information, since nobody really knew if they had come home or not. So that is when the Ocean City Police took over the investigation, and they began at the Atlantis condo, which is where this couple was staying that weekend. Now, these two were not found to be in their room that they were assigned. However, their luggage did remain, and it kind of appeared as though they had kind of just left it scattered and they had just left in a rush. They hadn't packed up, but there also wasn't any sign of a struggle or any blood or evidence that something had gone wrong. Outside though, the car registered to Jeannie, whom had drove to Ocean City, was still outside and found abandoned. They weren't inside, but the car was locked. At this point, Ocean City Police Department, or OCPD, knew that they had a case on their hands, but they also knew this wouldn't be easy, just as no missing persons case in a city that has frequent vacationers was. Regardless, they immediately started creating these missing persons posters, and they distributed it to all the highly trafficked areas, especially the local bars and nightclubs where vacationers often went. Unfortunately, as they thought, no one would come forward. With so many coming and going, and often being drunk during this time, the only hope was that some of the employees would have had something memorable happen between Joshua and Jeannie and themselves for them to remember, because even them, they weren't drunk, but they were dealing with so many people that they often would not recognize or know exactly the time and location they had seen these people. But unfortunately, this wouldn't be the case either, and for the next 4 days, there were no clues or tips. Yet then they would get lucky. You see, on May 31st, there was an arrest made by the OCPD. It was around midnight when they were called to a local Hooters restaurant off 122nd Street. The alarm had gone off inside, and they were able to quickly respond. What they found, though, was not what they really expected. They had no way to know that this robbery was going to give them a different look into these missing persons and their case. As the robbers were arrested, much more came to light about them, especially due to the fact that they were carrying Joshua and Jeannie's IDs. You see, when investigators arrived at Hooters, it was a very quick rush to arrest a thief because they had immediately pulled into the parking lot, they had seen a Jeep Cherokee, and that is when they also saw 2 individuals packing something into the Jeep. So they knew that they had caught the people red-handed and they needed to arrest them before they could try to run. They were arrested within seconds, and this was incredible for the rookie officers that had responded to this call. It was actually known during this time that the Ocean City Police Department were often complained about by the people who lived there due to the force being made up of seasonal help or newbies. They were doing the best they could though, and that is when they searched the suspects. Now, it was found that the male in custody had a 9mm handgun on him as well as a knife, and on the female in custody they found a .357 Magnum revolver, and she was also carrying a knife. They were charged with burglary and brought down to the police department, but meanwhile other officers were going through their Jeep Cherokee. Inside they found another gun, which was a .45 caliber, as well as ski masks, handcuffs, and tape. They also found what was actually stolen from Hooters, and it turned out that it wasn't even any money or anything like that. It was Hooters memorabilia, t-shirts, cups, things that they sell with the logo on it. The female suspect appeared to be having almost a panic attack when they arrived and were arresting her, and she asked if the officers would get her medication out of her purse. She said it was for anxiety, and so she said that there would be Xanax and Paxil in her brown leather purse, which was in the front of the Jeep. And so Officer Binney was able to locate this purse, and he was digging through it. He was struggling to find these medications, so he was kind of like dumping things out, rummaging through it, and that is when he came across shell casings. He then opened the change purse, and that is when he found 2 IDs, but they did not belong to the man and woman that they had in custody. This was Joshua and Jeannie, their 2 missing people. Investigators asked these people in custody where they had been staying while they were in Ocean City, and they did agree to tell them that they had been renting a suite at the condo Rainbow. So investigators immediately went there, hoping that they would find something to connect them further with Joshua and Jeannie, or possibly finding these 2. And that is when they were ushered upstairs to the Penthouse, the most luxurious suite of this entire building. There they would find a picture that included the male and female who were in custody, as well as Jeannie and Joshua. They were all smiling together. This was on a table which also had 2 bullets as well as a key. Now, the forensics team were sent all of this evidence to begin processing it in a lab while the crime scene technicians were scanning the entire rooms for blood or evidence of a murder. Back in the interrogation room, the male and female suspects were finally identified as Erica and Benjamin Seifert. Now, they were a married couple. They claimed to be from Pennsylvania on a vacation in Ocean City at the Penthouse. They were partying, they were drinking all weekend, and mostly this was happening at the Secrets, so Secrets just spelled S-E-A, nightclub. Investigators were confused, though, as to why this sweet-looking couple that appeared to be just the type that would own businesses, be school teachers, and go home to their family at night were thieves and possible killers. Yet it was looking more and more likely as bloodstains were found in that very penthouse in the master bathroom as well as the master bedroom and the hot tub. The bathroom appeared clean when you looked at it with fresh paint and cleaning products galore. Yet when crime scene technicians looked closer, they were able to find blood on top of the countertop, underneath the countertop, the floor, the backside of the bottom drawer, under the mirror, under the hot tub faucet, on a candle holder, and on a window as well as in the shower. Basically, there appeared to have been so much blood that even when they tried, they couldn't get it all. There was also a hole in the back wall in the bathroom, and the forensics team were actually able to match this blood to both Joshua and Jeannie. And the bullets found on that table were also found to have their blood and tissue on it. There was also the fact that those bullets were found to be from a .357 Magnum revolver, the same gun Erica was found with when she was arrested at Hooters. The key also matched the room key that Joshua and Jeannie had at their Atlantis condo. This was enough evidence to begin to push harder on Erica and Benjamin to get answers. The local news was even spreading information about the Hooters robbery and also their possible connection and the disappearances of Joshua and Jeannie. And that is when witnesses began coming forward with tips, not many, but some, saying that they saw these two couples together on the shuttle bus going to the Secrets nightclub. This was on the night of Saturday, May 25th. They were all going to be stopping at this nightclub, and so people were saying that they had seen them together. And of course, the photograph proved that they had been together as well. Now, they were pushing for answers. They were asking them to say anything that could help in this investigation, and Erica cracked first. It didn't take her long to admit that they had murdered them, but she said it was completely her husband who killed them. She said she agreed to take them to where the bodies were dumped because she did help with the disposal, but it was all her husband's idea. She claimed they were at a grocery store in Rehoboth, Delaware, called the Food Lion, where there were two dumpsters out back. And officers were sent to confirm her story, but they came back saying that there were no bodies there. With Erica hearing this, she said that she was not lying. This was the truth. And so she actually was taken back to the scene with Detective Bernal, who transported her there. On the way there, Erica actually told him that Benjamin had shot the couple, cut up their bodies, and put them in garbage bags. Even with the second search, no bodies were found, but Erica was demanding that she was telling the truth. And so investigators continued to search with the only lead they had at this point, and that is when they followed these dumpsters to where they would have been dumped in the landfill. Now, on June 3rd, 3 days after Erica and Benjamin's arrest, Joshua and Jeannie would be found. They were recovered amongst the trash, and Erica was at this point given a deal saying that as long as she cooperated and testified against her husband and also agreed to take a polygraph test and passed, she would not be tried for murder. Now, Erica made her statement saying that she and Benjamin had met Joshua and Jeannie on that very shuttle, and they actually didn't have enough money. And Joshua was nice enough to loan them the money so they could get off the bus. And that is when they said, look, we can buy you some drinks at the nightclub to pay you back. And so that's exactly what they did. They started partying together, and they were having such a good time that Joshua and Jeannie were actually invited back to the Penthouse with Erica and Benjamin. They said that they had a hot tub in their room and that they could continue the party. They were also allegedly offering some weed as well. Erica said that this night went from good to bad as there was an argument over her stolen purse with her grandmother's $10,000 ring inside. She went on to say 3 shots were fired, but she didn't have a part of that. And Joshua and Jeannie were then cut up and packed by Benjamin in Navy kit bags and taken to the dumpsters. She claimed to have helped only in the disposal because he asked her to. Now, the bodies found were only parts that could be located in this huge landfill, and so investigators were only able to locate Jeannie's left leg and Joshua's arms and torso, and that was it. This created much difficulty in officially identifying the cause of death for Jeannie, even though there was a strong theory. However, in Joshua's case, he did have 2 bullet wounds to the torso, so they believed he was shot to death. The polygraph for Erica that she was supposed to undergo was postponed while they did a pre-polygraph test with the Secret Service agents. However, it was then terminated due to certain statements she made to them that were believed to be incriminating. These agents in charge did not want Erica to have a chance to get off scot-free. And so they had an inkling she had some sort of involvement more than the disposal, and they didn't want to give her the opportunity to get away with it. As they dove deeper into Erica and her story and the truth behind that, a photo was recovered of Erica that showed her wearing Joshua's ring around her neck on a chain like a trophy. Yet this wasn't the worst of the aftermath. It turned out that Erica had also had a scrapbook in the penthouse, and inside wasn't about their marriage or their life. It was about the homicide of these 2 people. She had also been the one to make a 911 call the night of the murder, claiming that there was an emergency because there were people in her home she didn't know, and they had stolen her purse, or her purse had gone missing. When she was finally patched through to the police, she said that someone else was on the line and hung up the phone.
What's your 911? Do you have an emergency?
Yes, I have an emergency at my apartment. There are people in my house who I don't know, and my purse is suddenly missing, and I'm afraid I'm going to have a robbery here.
Okay, people in your apartment at this time?
Yes.
I'll connect you to the police. Stay on the line.
Hey.
What?
I'm upstairs in a bedroom where they don't know where I am.
Okay, I'll connect you to the police. You can tell them, okay?
Okay.
Huh? Ocean City Police.
Hello. There are people in...
After this, the call dropped, and so the police never arrived. There was also what happened after the murders, which were believed to occur that Saturday night. The cleaning supplies that were found in the penthouse were actually found to be purchased the day afterwards, leading back to the Seiferts. And then by the next Tuesday, they were out shopping in the same area where they had disposed of these bodies. For Erica being in distress for just seeing her husband murder people and not being involved in the murder itself, she was completely fine. She got a new tattoo, and then she went to Home Depot with Benjamin to pick up a new bathroom door and paint for the penthouse. There was actually a picture then taken by Erica of Benjamin holding the door over his head like a trophy. It was looking more and more like Erica wasn't just some helpless victim, and during this time, Benjamin wasn't saying much, but there was always the possibility that Erica had been in shock and that Benjamin had forced her to do these things. At this point, it was decided, though, that both Erica and Benjamin would be taken to trial. It was found that they had been married in 1998, only 4 years prior, when they were both 20 years old. This meant that they were around 24 to 25 at this time. Erica was said to be from a wealthy family. She was an honors student. She was a basketball star at Mary Washington College, and Benjamin was actually a SEAL in the Navy who graduated first in his class. At the time of the murder, they owned a home together, and they also owned a scrapbook store. They were known to be very friendly, with no criminal record. Yet behind the scenes, Benjamin hadn't just left the Navy. He had actually been dishonorably discharged for bad conduct. He had absence without leave. He had insubordination on his record, and the Navy prosecutor said he had developed an utter disregard for authority. And Erica was telling people she was this material girl who would use cocaine and ecstasy 5 days a week. It turned out that night, once, everyone was at the Penthouse, Erica began to claim that her purse was missing. Her and Benjamin were accusing Joshua and Jeannie of stealing it, and then Benjamin pulled out a gun on them. They were cornered into this bathroom where Joshua barricaded them with the door to try to keep them safe. And that is when Erica went outside to the patio where she could see inside the bathroom a little bit, where she told Joshua where to shoot and when. Joshua shot through the door and several more times after he kicked down the door, and Joshua was already dead by then. But as far as Jeannie, when they got inside, she was killed as well, but it's unknown whether she was shot to death or stabbed. As far as motive, well, as far as anyone could tell at this point, it was simply the thrill of it. That was it. The trials were moved out of the county at this point due to the high publicity, and both Benjamin and Erica's families were claiming that they weren't the ones to commit murder. They were blaming each other, saying it must have been Benjamin, it must have been Erica. Benjamin's mother claims that when the two got together, Benjamin changed. He separated from the family. She said that's when he was discharged from the Navy. And Erica's parents didn't like Benjamin at all, didn't like when they were together, and said that he halted her dreams of going to law school. They also insisted she was always a very level-headed girl and was outgoing without a dark side. However, these parents didn't know a lot about their children. Erica's parents didn't know that she was obsessed with Hooters and took medication for her anxiety attacks. Benjamin's family had no idea that he had a huge swastika tattoo on his chest and that they were both living with exotic snakes. While being interrogated, they turned on each other as well. Erica was saying that Benjamin was this racist control freak who was mentally and physically abusive, that the only compliment that he ever gave her was that she was a cool wife for going to strip clubs with him. She said after about a year of marriage, he said he wanted her to get pregnant, and so she did, and she was about 4 months along when he yelled at her to get an abortion or he would dig it out of her. She ended up doing so, and that is when he said that he never wanted a kid. He just wanted to see how far she would go for him. Erica claimed that he always said that he wanted to kill her family for the money that they would inherit. She told police at this point that if they didn't lock him up, he and his Navy SEAL friends would kill her family.
He made them strip at gunpoint, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, had no idea what's going on. And he told me that Josh said, I was in the Army, you were in the Navy, why are you doing this, why are you doing this? And BJ said that he looked at him in the face and he said, see you later, he shot him in the head.
Jeannie would not been shot yet.
She was just whimpering and she curled up in a ball, and he missed her the first time, and the second time he hit her right here.
For the record, she's gesturing at her left chest.
She had curled up behind Joshua's body. I feel like I'm getting like really panicked.
Do you need to take a break?
I'm okay.
All right.
BJ told me she was just whimpering like a baby. He has SEAL friends. I definitely would not want him to know that I was here talking to you. And if I go up and testify and for some reason you guys don't get him locked up, my family will end up like Joshua and Jeannie.
Dead.
What do you see in the bathroom?
It looks like a bad horror film. There's blood completely soaked everywhere. There are spots that if you stepped, it would splash. There were puddles of blood. I'm laying downstairs and I'm like curled up on the couch, just petrified. And I hear him say, come up here. I go up there and he's like, take my picture. And he's holding their heads.
Josh's head in one hand and Jeannie's head in the other hand, and wants you to take his picture.
And what was he wearing?
Nothing.
Benjamin claimed that Erica was a crazed drug addict who was always ready to kill. But both families and the world would agree on one thing. These two were not good together. During Benjamin's trial, a witness named Melissa would come forward to say that she was almost a victim of the Seyfrieds. This was 3 days after Joshua and Jeannie's murders, and she had a friend named Justin in Ocean City who said that he met up with a couple and was wondering if she wanted to come out and party with them at their penthouse. And so she arrived, and that is when she began to get very strange feelings. They had a flat tire, everyone was acting drunk and strange, and Erica whom she had never met before, threw her arms around Melissa and hugged her and was just kind of like hanging on her. And Benjamin was standing there with his bloody mouth, saying that he had driven over a curb and split his lip on the steering wheel. He told her that he was driving even though he was more intoxicated than Erica because she was packing heat and wouldn't be able to control herself, and she would kill a cop. They all went back to the penthouse. Erica was showing Melissa her pet cobras while talking about snorting anti-anxiety medication. And just like with Joshua and Jeannie, the Cyphers began to claim that Erica's purse was missing and that they had stolen it. Benjamin brought out the gun, threatened to kill them, and Melissa said that he was very angry and said that if they ripped him off like the other people who were there, he would have to do the same thing that he did to them. And then he pointed to a bullet hole in the door. He said that they were doing the world justice by ridding the earth of bad people. But they were able to end up finding this purse that was there all along and thankfully made it out alive. But it was believed that they only survived because the couple, the Cyphers, didn't have time to clean up another murder before they had to check out. One of Benjamin's friends from the Navy actually testified that Benjamin would explain sometimes how he would dismember and dispose of a body if he ever committed murder. He would lay out plastic garbage bags on the floor. He would hack off the victim's limbs and head, put them into pieces, and put them in garbage bags, just as he had done. However, his friend also left the Navy with less than honorable discharge and was quite vague, and he said that when they talked about this, they were always very drunk and out partying. But he also said that he often joked about killing his own wife, and Benjamin said he would do it with $20,000. Benjamin's defense claimed that it was all Erica, that she was high on booze, anti-anxiety medication, and diet pills, and Benjamin was actually the bystander here, that he was actually downstairs sleeping in the car when she killed them. The prosecutor, however, said that he needed to be warehoused because he was not going to be rehabilitated. During Erica's trial, they said the same thing about Benjamin, and a witness named Anne came forward to testify that when the couple went to Home Depot to get things to replace the door, to buy paint, she had actually spoken to Erica because she was holding this triangular piece of wood. And the lady, Anne, said, "What's that for? What's that from?" And Erica kind of laughed and said, "Would you believe that this is all that's left of our door?" Anne said that was quite the party. And Erica laughed and said, "Yeah, you could call it that." Benjamin was officially given 38 years in prison after being acquitted of the charges and the death of Joshua Ford. He was charged with second-degree murder of Jeannie and first-degree assault. Erica was then charged with first-degree in Joshua's death and second-degree in Jeannie's and given life plus 20 years. Without needing a motive for conviction, it was widely speculated on. Some believed that it was all this game about, having the purse being stolen and being able to blame these people as though they deserved the murder, even though it was all a lie. And that every crime that the Cyphers committed was all to add life back into the dullness, the mundane. To this day, no one knows why this has happened. And Erica and Benjamin have been described as Manson crazy. Even the Hooters merchandise that they stole was for nothing more than reselling it on eBay for a little bit of money when they were doing fine. But for Joshua's family and for Jeannie's, they were dealing with this horrific murders that had just happened to their family members. And Joshua's family, this was something they had been through before. You see, Joshua's aunt, 23-year-old Kelly Ford, was actually murdered less than a year before Joshua. It was October 22nd, 2001, when her remains were found in a shallow grave in Cape Cod Beach without her head. Her autopsy revealed homicidal violence, and Kelly actually had a 4-year-old daughter and was last seen 2 months prior to that at a drug and alcohol treatment facility. She was staying there. She was doing great. She was still in the program with 2 months left to go. She was doing so well that they let her go out on her own to actually go to a interview to be a volunteer. And she had to be doing incredible for them to not send a supervisor with her. However, whatever she met with that day was something horrific, and her case is still unsolved today. The Ford family say that they are coping day by day and that they push forward as a strong family, but that they were healing or finally trying to heal from Kelly's murder and now they're starting the healing process for Joshua. Now in 2010, Benjamin officially filed divorce from Erica, and this was granted. But 4 years later, Erica's appeal was denied after she claimed that she was mentally ill at the time of the murders and her husband dominated her. Now this was denied, and her appeals are said to be exhausted at this time. However, Benjamin was eligible for parole in 2021, last year, and he's only in his mid-40s. The detective Bernal, who worked closely on this case, said that he will be at every parole hearing with pictures of the autopsy to remind people what he did. Now, nothing has officially come out that I could find about this parole hearing or any release of Benjamin, and I was able to find that he is still an inmate. He is still currently in prison in Maryland. So I'm not sure if it was pushed back due to COVID. I'm not sure if he will get out anytime soon. But do you believe the verdicts were correct? Should Benjamin have gotten such a lenient sentence? Will he be paroled? Did Erica deserve such a harsh sentence? And the most baffling question of all, how could two people murder another couple just for the thrill of it? How does the only way to make your life better come to taking another life? But don't ever forget to speak up. Your voice is powerful enough, and I love you to absolute pieces. Okay, bye.